Welcome to another episode of Talking Ball with Pat Leonard. First down with Bennie Fowler, Week 9 edition, where a Super Bowl champion, former NFL wide receiver, joins us to talk about the action around the league. We'll talk game results. We'll talk standings, a Black Monday feel around the league with coach firings, and also the NFL trade deadline activity happening as we speak. We will get to all of that. First, want to tell you about our sponsors, brought to you here by MyBookie. MyBookie is rolling out the red carpet for sports bettors in its 10th year anniversary. If you want to make this football season a winning season, you're going to do it with MyBookie. Use the promo code PATSPICKS at the link in all my social media profiles, and you will get a 100% match on your first deposit of $50 or more, all the way up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. MyBookie, bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Also brought to you here by Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink. Boom Chaga is a natural extract loaded with anti-inflammatory, immune-boosting antioxidants and heart-healthy compounds. You can easily pour this natural liquid supplement into any of your favorite drinks. I put mine in my coffee every morning and immediately feel the difference. I personally have felt a post-workout-like energy boost with Boom. Chaga also has the ability to lower cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and improve immune and heart health with its beta-glucans and antioxidants. Go to boomchaga.com today to place your first order. Use that discount code TalkingBall25 or access it through the QR code on your screen, and you'll get 25% off your first subscribe and save order. Right now, that means a month's supply costs you only $30. Start feeling the difference today at boomchaga.com. And brought to you here on Talking Ball with Pat Leonard by Estate 98 Coffee, a specialty coffee concentrate that is perfect when you want to make a quick cup of coffee and skip the lines. It takes me less than 10 seconds to make a delicious Estate 98 iced or hot coffee. It's great as a mixer for espresso martinis, and each bottle can make up to 16 cups. Go to estate98.com/talkingball to get an exclusive offer for 80% off your first order. And now here on the Believe Network on Talking Ball with Pat Leonard, it's First Down with Bennie Fowler, Week 9 edition. All right, welcome to another episode of First Down with Bennie Fowler, Week 9 edition here on Talking Ball with Pat Leonard. Bennie, a little bit of a Black Monday feel to this week with Dennis Allen getting fired in New Orleans, but kind of want to open the floor to you today because there's a lot to talk about. There's the coaches and who's on the hot seat. There's NFL trade deadline activity going, and we kind of have the standings shaking out even more obviously on who are frauds and who deserve the laws. But what's on your mind to kick us off here?
Yeah, it is a little bit of a Black Monday for the Saints. I mean, starting off 2-0, I think winning their first two games by 30 points and then losing 7 straight will definitely get you fired. I think, I played on a team like that. I think we started 4-1 or 3-1 my last year in Denver, 2017. Got off to a great start. We beat the Chargers at home, beat the Cowboys, lost to the Bills, and then we beat the Raiders at home, and then we lost 8 straight. So something has to change, and I think we fired the offensive coordinator. We fired Mike McCoy at the time, and, I think the upstairs management is thinking we need to shake up, we need to change. Losing 8 straight is unacceptable in the NFL, especially when you have the amount of talent that the Saints have. So that is why the head coach gets fired, and, they might be selling today. We'll see. We'll see if they sell during the trade deadline. But yeah, it got ugly, and it got ugly quick. And they had some injuries too, so it's just a tough situation for them to be in. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a Black Monday feel for some of these teams. I don't know if Doug Peterson, if he's the next one in terms of Jacksonville and the losses they've been taking. I'm trying to think of who else isn't doing well. But
let's go right there, because I was actually, my next question was going to be who's next in your mind. So I had made a list: Doug Peterson, the Jacksonville Jaguars; Mike McCarthy in Dallas; Dave Canales, Carolina, even though they just won a game; Brian Daboll, New York; Antonio Pierce with the Raiders; and maybe, I don't know about this, but maybe a Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland if that goes the other way like this week did. Who would you look at in that group and say, this guy's going to be next?
If I'm putting coaches on the hot seat out of that group, I'd probably put Doug Peterson and then Mike McCarthy. I think Mike McCarthy might be saved just because now Dak is going to be out for the next, call it 2 to 4 weeks with injury. CeeDee Lamb gets hurt. and this team just isn't really good. So I don't think he'll get fired anymore. But Doug Peterson definitely on the hot seat. Trevor Lawrence signs a huge extension. You had some promise based off of the way things went last year, and now things are just going south. And you had a lot of hopes and expectations coming into this season, and now it's the season is down the drain, and players are packing up. They're shipping their cars. So
well, and that's in Vegas too. So we see Luke Getsy, the offensive coordinator, and several members of the offensive staff get fired there. Is this a situation where, that's like a last ditch effort, and you think at the end of this, they're going to have to reset in Vegas with the Raiders as well? Obviously, they traded Devontae Adams already. They still have Max Crosby there, but kind of a bare bones operation going on there, and looking like, they fired one side of the ball's coaching staff, but I mean, it's not like the defense is holding up its end of the bargain either. It just feels like it's running its course there.
Yeah, I don't know what the Raiders are doing over there. I think it's a tough situation, obviously, for those two coaches to get fired on the offensive staff. Their position groups have let them down tremendously. So,
right.
To be honest, what are they trying to do, and how are they going to salvage the rest of the season? I think is how Antonio Pierce is thinking. I think one of the tough things when you step into a situation like Antonio Pierce did as the interim head coach last year, you have the momentum, you can galvanize the locker room, and you can say, hey, that other guy was the problem. Let's galvanize. Let's rally together, and let's finish this season off strong. But that does not carry over into the next year, and you have to retool, you have to rethink, and the Raiders just didn't get off to the start that they wanted to. And you have to really establish a culture and a foundation. You can't rally based off of what you did last year. We trade Devontae. He's not happy. Max Crosby, he's one of the foundational pieces that you have, but you can't just win football games with two star players. And you lose Devontae Adams. Quarterbacks up and down play, don't know the culture, don't know the identity of the team. You lose a Josh Jacobs. It just gets tough. So I don't know. They might have to reset again in terms of where they're going. I think Antonio Pierce is a great coach, and I think he's a great motivator of men, but did he hire the right people on the offense and defensive staff, special team staff? That's how I look at it now.
One coach, I might have left him off that list there, but Eberflus in Chicago, also, that was a shocking kind of no-show by the Bears there against the Cardinals. And I wanted to ask you about this play. Did you see the DJ Moore play by any chance? Where Caleb Williams, he kind of rolls out to the left, and Moore runs like a comeback towards the sideline, and he's open, and Caleb doesn't throw it, and instead he spins back to the middle of the field. DJ Moore steps out of bounds. It's unclear whether he stepped out during his route or whether he initially was walking off already. But Bennie, he like walks off to the sideline, to the bench, and Williams is still rolling around looking down the field. Super weird play, strange feeling there. You have Tyreek Stevenson waving to the fans the week before the Hail Mary against Washington. DJ Moore is a respected veteran. I've never heard a bad word about the guy.
I think
his work ethic or anything.
If he stepped out of bounds and he knew he stepped out of bounds, you're always taught as a receiver, don't let the quarterback know that you're out of the play completely. So
that's good.
You're not eligible. Yeah, you're not eligible to touch the ball. So if he did step out of bounds and he knew he stepped out of bounds, that play makes sense. Now, if he just gave up, then I don't have a explanation for him giving up on the play. But yeah, if he stepped out of bounds and know he stepped out of bounds, you're taught not to. You don't want the quarterback to know that you're a target. So you just stop playing at that point. And especially it happens more so in the red zone. If a defense of back pushes you out of the back of the end zone, they don't want you to run back in at all. So just stay out of the play, stay out of the way. So because you're not eligible to touch the ball. So that's kind of how I think about it. Eberflus, I don't know, if he gets fired in the middle of the season. The Bears had their momentum, and then they lost the game to Washington on the Hail Mary. And now I think, his name's starting to get mentioned in that because you see Tyree Stevenson, taunting the crowd, and then he gives up the Hail Mary, and, they're wondering if Eberflus is coaching that and, trying to make an example of him. And then you supposedly see this DJ Moore play. Is he giving up? And, I don't think it was a no-show. I think the Cardinals are they're at the top of their division, so they're no slouch. I think we might look at the Cardinals in a different way, but the Cardinals and Bears are two teams that, I would say are kind of evenly matched in terms of who they are, their identity. I don't think any one of them are any one of those teams are world beaters. So, Chicago didn't show up. That's, I didn't expect them to go into Arizona and just blow them out. So we'll see where they go. But I think going forward, I wouldn't be surprised at the end of the season if Eberflus is let go and they want to bring in somebody who has the offensive mind to, work with a Caleb Williams and put him in a position to win and be successful, especially after you see the number 2 over picking Jaden Daniels and the way he's playing.
Now, it's an interesting point about the Cardinals. You're right about that. I'm probably not giving them enough credit. I will say this about the Cardinals. I mean, I'm not a Kyler Murray fan, but James Conner is that dude. Like,
incredible player.
He is an awesome player. Like, not the same player, but the same way that we've talked about what Aaron Jones does for Minnesota, for example, like how there really is, like if he's not in the game, there's a major drop off for how they can call the offense and the effectiveness they get out of a running game. Connor's that level of running back. Like he's that tier of RB where like if he misses a game, it's going to change the way that they can attack teams. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So no, tough player. Benny, staying on, not to be super negative the whole podcast here, but tying this together with these coaches on the hot seat. Right now, there are 9 teams with 2 wins. So they're either 2-6 or 2-7 in the NFL. You're talking about basically a third of the league. And frankly, I thought last year the overall quality of teams top to bottom was not strong compared to other years that I've been covering the NFL. And we may have talked about this before, but do you agree with me that just the product top to bottom in the league, there's more bad teams and bad football than we've seen before? And then the second question would be, what accounts for that? What accounts for so many teams being just out of it so early?
Yeah, I would say there definitely are some pretty bad teams. And what accounts for that, I believe, is the roster construction. How are these teams constructed? And I think sometimes you are just signing players in free agency, but do they actually fit into your scheme and what you're actually trying to accomplish and what you're actually trying to achieve? And I think now you can also go back to coaching. Are you actually coaching these players up to be actual football players? I think one of the things that I was blessed with early in my career was that we had great coaches in Denver, and then we had a veteran locker room. We had a veteran locker room with a veteran presence to actually teach you how to be a pro and how to play the game the right way. And then we had an incredible culture just because of those players and that cohesiveness. So when I think about the product of the game, I always go back to, who are the coaches of these teams? How are they installing things? I'd be curious to see what it's like actually being in their building, what it's like to be in their culture. When I think about my time in New York, we had some incredible talent, but we weren't an actual team in terms of how we performed on the field, the camaraderie that we had in terms of on-field play. I think we were a great locker room team. We had a lot of fun. But when you think about the overall cohesiveness of that culture, the pointing the fingers, the going in different directions, the me, that's what I'm seeing in terms of those teams that are 2-6 or 2-7. It's, people out there playing for themselves. And when you get to this point in the season, you are playing for yourself. You're 2-7, 2-6, right before, a couple weeks before Thanksgiving. It now all becomes about you in that locker room and making sure you finish the season healthy and make sure you finish the season strong.
Honestly, I think all those teams would do well to have you come in and speak to the locker room for 20 or 30 minutes. because when you and I met, like, I think one of the things we connected on is I could just see that you had like a bigger picture perspective on like you said, the word culture that you use. That's an overused word by a lot of people who don't know what it means. But I feel like the way that you used it and that you describe it and you connect it to performance and the relationships in a building and the way that it connects to how you assimilate talent, right? Like it connects to the personnel that you're acquiring, right? Because it governs your philosophy on the type of people and players that you want, whether it's how they relate to people and how they represent you in the community, but also how they connect in the X's and O's field way in your walkthroughs and practices and games to how your team performs.
Mhm.
Sometimes I think these teams get caught in whether it's the blame game or it's ego or it's they have a certain philosophy and they don't want to veer off of it, even though the team that they inherited doesn't look the same way that their model looks. I do think some Bennie Fowler in the locker room would be good for these squads. Pivoting to some positive stuff.
Let's do it.
Let me hear the Bennie Fowler live reaction to watching Saquon jump backwards over a guy. I want to hear your breakdown of that play. What the hell is he even doing, thinking to do that in the first place? How does he execute that? And I guess this gets us into our shout outs portion of the podcast. Let's shout out Saquon, but I want to hear the Bennie Fowler breakdown of this play.
Yes, definitely shout out to Saquon, former teammate of mine for 2 years and an incredible athlete, incredible player. When I actually saw the play in real time, I kind of just got up and walked away. It's like, you get up, you see something like that, you get up, you walk away, and you're like, that's not real. That's not that wasn't real. That didn't actually just happen. And then I called my wife and I was like, did you just see that? You jumped over somebody backwards. But with that being said, Saquon, like I said, he is one of the best athletes that I've ever seen and ever played with. And just the feel, I mean, you could kind of see him setting it up. He kind of looked back as he was backpedaling and then just did it. But to be that athletic and to make that type of play, man, it's just got to piss you off if you're a New York Giants fan. It's got to make you super happy that you're a Philly fan. But I think overall, it's just great for the NFL. I mean, talk about the plays that we saw this week. So when we think about, or when I was watching the play with Saquon in real time, it's just one of those plays where you're sitting on the couch, you're watching the game, enjoying the game. You see the spin move, super exciting. And then you watch him jump over somebody backwards and you just get up, you walk away, and then you have to gather your thoughts in terms of what you just saw. And that's kind of how I was watching that play. And Saquon's one of the best athletes, players that I ever played with in my career. And you just don't see that. I think they've been talking about it on TV. That's not something that you practice. That's just his feel of the game. And I think I said earlier in the year when we first started doing this is that Saquon is going to have Penn State-like numbers and he's going to have Penn State-like plays because now he has that offensive line. He has that scheme in terms of the players around him that can support him. And you can see all of his real talent on display. And what an exciting play. I mean, just an incredible play. One of the best plays that I've ever seen for a 14-yard run. It's one of the best plays that I've ever seen. So yes, definitely big shout out to Saquon. And then shout out to all the players that made plays in the NFL this week. I think Garrett Wilson with the one-handed catch, DeMarcus Robinson with his one-handed catch, Devontae Smith with his one-handed catch. I mean, just some incredible plays throughout the league this week. So everybody, all the talent is on full display.
Well, that was a great point about what you said about Saquon setting up the move and peaking. That was the thing I noticed about the play was as incredible as all his physical skills are. And, probably me, I'm spoiled from having seen him a lot, but it doesn't surprise me that he did it. What I thought was hilarious and ridiculously talented and just reflects not just his physical talent, but his vision and his feel for the game is as he's making an amazing move to juke a guy out of his jockstrap, he's peeking backwards at the next guy coming to set him up for a backwards jump. The physical ability is one thing, setting him up for it and seeing it coming because you couldn't execute it otherwise. That's just at a whole other level. I mean, I know that players like Lamar Jackson and, some of the top quarterbacks, like the MVP race, as that starts to round into form, it'll be hard to beat a guy out like Lamar or something for that kind of award. But Benny, I don't think it's crazy. I know Derrick Henry's been a monster too. I don't think it's crazy though to say that depending on how the season shakes out, if Saquon just stays on pace, he really could be a guy who gets votes at the end of this season. If the Eagles,
he for sure will get votes. If I had to go, here's my top 5 MVP list right now. Just because we're talking about it. Number 1, I would have to say right now, Jared Goff would be the MVP. If you're throwing more touchdowns than incompletions in the last 6 games, you should for sure be an MVP candidate. And I think they're 7-1 or 6-1. Number 2 MVP pick would be Jaden Daniels, 7-2, playing some incredible football, and a leader of that team, has completely turned that franchise around, along with the players alongside him like Terry McLaurin and Bobby Wagner. Number 3, Lamar Jackson, playing some incredible football as well. I think he is on pace. This is going to be a better season this year than his 2 previous MVP seasons. Number 4, Saquon Barkley, incredible player in terms of everything that he is doing for the Philadelphia Eagles, running and catching. And then number 5, Derrick Henry, just everything that he's brought, that dynamic running game that he's brought to Baltimore, and just the incredible physical nature that he has brought to their run game.
I love that list. You brought me to my next shout out, which was to Jaden Daniels, who I saw him play in week 2 in person against the Giants. But that stadium down in Maryland is trash, not only for the players, but for the media. The sight lines are horrendous, Benny. Like you can't tell whether a run goes for 5 yards or 1 yard. It's awful. But seeing him at MetLife Stadium with a good view of it. So, Benny, I've been covering the NFL since 2016. And then this year, especially, the Giants have struggled at home, this and that. Jaden Daniels made 2 throws on Sunday at MetLife here in Jersey that were 2 of the best throws I've seen in a while. I mean, they were definitely the 2 best throws I've seen at MetLife Stadium this season. One was an over route just in the first half, about maybe 17, 18 yards down the field, just kind of layering it with touch over top. Can't remember if it was De'Ami Brown, somebody over the middle, but just it was like a laser with touch, and finding the window was just a beautiful throw. And I even ran over to one of my friends and colleagues in the media and said, best throw I've seen in the stadium this season, right when it happened. But then sure enough, he drops this laser dime over top of Deonte Banks's head to Terry McLaurin for a touchdown, basically on the last play of the second quarter going into halftime. And I got to say, Benny, the way that Saquon is injecting life in the Eagles, you can count on one hand the amount of players, let's say in the last decade, where they join a team and immediately everybody in the building, and then it starts to kind of fan out throughout the nation. Everyone goes, oh, they've got one, right? It's like that. It's like that TikTok video of the guy, somebody's uncle, like storming around after the Hail Mary, just staring at the camera. And he says, we got one. We got one. CJ Stroud in Houston, I guess, would be an example. Mahomes, obviously, in Kansas City once he stepped on the field. But I'm struggling to find too many comparisons to a player that has kind of lit up his team and started to change the landscape of the league as quickly as Jaden Daniels has.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels is a special talent. I think he just has a unique ability the way he feels his way throughout the game, and the throws that he makes, the poise that he plays with under pressure is just something that you don't necessarily see from a rookie. And like you said, some of the throws that he's making, the anticipation that he is throwing with is on another level. I mean, he is making some throws that a 8 or 10-year vet would make in terms of back shoulder, in terms of ball placement, in terms of standing in the pocket and staying in the pocket. I mean, this is a really special season that we are seeing. I'm curious to see how I would love to see him just interact and go about his business throughout the week, because it's got to be something special to see as a rookie and as a young player, how he is progressing throughout the week, how he is implementing the game plan, how he's practicing, because what he's doing on Sunday is incredible. And he's got to be so in tune and so dialed in throughout the week. So
Hmm.
it's super exciting to see. And it's incredible to see this type of talent on display in the first year of his career. And
Yeah.
it's only up from here. I think he'll continue to get better, and he'll continue to progress throughout his career. But he's got some real talent on that team, and they are
Yeah.
playing well, and they are playing with a lot of confidence. And we also have to give a shout out to Adam Peters, their GM, number one. Number two, we have to give a shout out to Dan Quinn and the culture that he set, and people love playing for him. And then number three, Cliff Kingsbury, in terms of the plays that he's calling, the plays that he's dialing up, the way he is spreading the ball around. That's an incredible trio right there for a rookie quarterback to have. And I think one of the things that also sticks out when you think about the Washington Commanders as opposed to the Chicago Bears coaching staff is coaching for their livelihood. The Washington coaching staff is coaching from a position and to win, and they're winning long term. And they're thinking about that, and that's how they're coaching. They're not coaching to save their job. So, shout out to Jaden Daniels and the plays that he is making, the throws, and just his overall confidence and swagger. And it's exciting to see.
Yeah, and to your point about wanting to kind of be in a fly on the wall and see how he operates, I was actually asking somebody about that on Sunday at the stadium, because he profiles, like when he speaks publicly, he comes off kind of quiet. Not in a bad way, just kind of reserved, quiet, low key. I said to this person, that seems like probably how he is, seems genuine. And they said, oh, not on the field and in the huddle, he's not. And I liked hearing that from a perspective of him continuing to grow and maybe learning why he's good so early. Like I've heard similar things about CJ Stroud, in the idea of you expect them as rookies and as young players to be soaking up so much knowledge they don't know, that maybe they're a little bit passive. But they're being asked as franchise quarterbacks drafted in the top 5, top 2, to take control and lead a team. And so what I hear about Daniels is what I've heard about Stroud, which is that they kind of have grabbed it by the collar, and like whether it's telling the offensive coordinator what they want, or just having their conversations throughout the week, or the way that they're correcting guys right in the huddle there, hey, here's why that didn't work. I need more out of you here. Like that's what he's doing. And I don't think there's any confusion kind of knowing that about why he's having success, for sure. Another shout out I wanted to give is to our man, Daniel Jones. Daniel, we both know where this is headed with the Giants and with his career here. But after a first half where, yeah, they were having success in the run game, but Brian Daboll basically wasn't calling any pass plays. Daniel has a humiliating stat line at halftime, no passing yards with a passing touchdown to Chris Manhertz. And he comes out second half, and in a stadium where he struggled, where the fan base has really not been behind him, where the team, at the top has not been behind him. Listen to these numbers, Benny. 20 of 26 passes on the day, 76.9 completion percentage, the highest of the season and sixth highest of his career. Passer rating of 119.7, easily the highest of the season, and his highest since he posted a 125.2 on January 1st, 2023. Again, probably doesn't change where all this is going, but I think DJ deserves a shout out because, everybody saw him run a couple guys over on the goal line, but it's not just that. We've seen that before. It's more like, the world he's living in is against him and he's still playing at a high level.
Yeah, shout out to DJ. I think he's a strong person mentally. I think, the season is definitely, in the can right now, and it's, every man for himself, and, Dayball not calling plays to pass in the first half or whatever it may be. I don't know what that's about, but shout out to DJ playing hard, and shout out to him to continue to still go out there and play for himself and his teammates. And he just needs a fresh start. He needs to get out of New York. New York is just not the place for him. Who knows what the rest of his career can look like and if he'll have another chance to start. But I think there's no doubt that he's an NFL player and that he can play quarterback in the NFL. When you can't just go out there and have those types of stats. And we've seen highlights from DJ and DJ playing really well. But it's in the NFL, it's all about consistency. And he hasn't been consistent in New York. And, I think the Giants will clean house, but he can go somewhere and get a fresh start. And who knows? You can have a Ryan Tannehill like resurgence. You can have a Geno Smith like resurgence. You can have a Sam Darnold like resurgence. You can have a Baker Mayfield like resurgence. So, yeah, it's tough for DJ. New York's a tough place to play. You got to have thick skin and you got to be a consistent player. But right now, there's not much to cheer about. So he just got to stay even keel and finish the season out strong. And I don't know, maybe they'll probably put some Drew Lock in here in a couple of weeks to try to avoid the injury thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's not really going anywhere. So it is what it is.
A few more quick ones. Thanks for another great podcast, great insight, Benny, around the league here. Number one, the NFC West is muddied right now. You mentioned Arizona 5-4 in first place. The Rams are 4-4. So are the Niners, and the Seahawks are 4-5. If you had a crystal ball, how do you think that's going to shake out there? Seems like a lot of teams kind of in the same spot as far as kind of like capable of winning every week and capable of losing every week. And the Niners, of course, really banged up. They're usually the team that kind of exerts themselves with kind of superior talent. And that might not really be there for them down the stretch here. Just curious how you think it'll shake out there.
With the NFC West, I'd see it shaking out as the Rams getting hot and the 49ers getting hot. And those two, either one of those two will finish first or second in the division. But I could see both of those teams actually making the playoffs. I can see the Rams and the 49ers both making the playoffs. And they just need to get healthy at the right time. Yes, they're both not as healthy as they wanted to be at the beginning of the season. But if you're healthy in late November, early December, and you're rolling, that's better than being healthy in September and October and not being healthy in December when you actually need to be. So if they're getting healthy at the right time, both of those teams, they're scary because that offense in San Francisco can put up points with the best of them if they have all their weapons. And, they're getting McCaffrey back. And then same thing with the Rams, Cooper Kupp being back, Puka Nacua in their running game and their offensive line up front. And then you have Matthew Stafford slinging the ball around. They're a dangerous team.
Yeah, no, that I for sure. I do. The Rams are the team that makes me raise my eyebrow about like, I think this team is not as bad as people might think they are. They do have Matt Stafford. Another one, I can't figure this team out really. They always start slow and then they always end up being a factor, but they have a lot of ground to make up. Cincinnati Bengals, they're 4-5. I mean, the Steelers are ahead of them at 6-2. The Baltimore Ravens are 6-3. I just can't figure out, they beat up on a bad Raiders team, 41-24. Joey Burrow showing some fire, throwing 5 touchdown passes. Is their season over though? Or not over, obviously they're 4-5, but I guess what I mean is, do you see a team there who can do what they've done in some of these years, which is just get hot, get into the playoffs, and suddenly again be looked at after the season as like a top 5 team?
Yeah, I can see them getting hot, but I think they have some pretty hard divisional games coming up, and I think they can actually get exposed this year based off of the slow start. They still have to play, I think, Pittsburgh twice. I think are they playing Baltimore on Thursday?
Yes, they're coming up here this Thursday against Baltimore. Yep.
Yeah, so they got to play Baltimore twice probably, or no, they play Baltimore again, and then they'll have the Cleveland game. But yeah, I think their schedule later on in the year, might bite them in the butt in terms of that slow start. So I don't necessarily see them getting hot this year to finish things off, because they're going to have to win out basically 7 out of 9 or whatever games, how many games they have left. Yeah, they have to win 7 out of 9 to make the playoffs probably. So I don't see it.
No, good point. To your point, you started us off early on saying that the Saints were probably going to be sellers at the deadline here. And Josina Anderson reports that trade talks for Marshawn Lattimore, the corner with the Saints, are warming up. That's the quote, and that multiple people are involved. So Bennie
Kansas
calling
City.
his shot there. Kansas City, you like that?
For sure. Kansas City, yeah, they'll go for that. I could see the Rams going for it. They don't believe in drafting players. I could see the Rams going for it.
That'd be great for the league, for the Chiefs to get Marshawn Lattimore. They only just grabbed DeAndre Hopkins, and he looks like the Houston Texans DeAndre Hopkins on Monday Night Football.
He's going to open up that offense a lot. I think what we saw on Monday night from Kansas City, now you will see even more of a resurgence, I think, with Travis Kelce, because now you have a respectable pass catcher on the other side of him. And that just opens up the offense even more. You see Patrick roll out or roll up through the pocket and throw the ball down the field to DeAndre Hopkins with 3 people around him. But that's a trust that you have. It's like you just know that he's going to catch the ball. So now Travis Kelce has 14 catches on Monday Night Football. He had 15 catches in the first 4 games, and he has 14 on Monday Night Football in Week 9. So that's because the offense will now be opened up even more. You have a legit hands catcher on the other side. You have Travis Kelce, then you have Xavier Worthy. Now everything will start to flow together. This offense will continue to get rolling. And then Pacheco's coming back in a couple of weeks. You'll have Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. You know, Kansas City, they put up 30 points. It was good to see Mahomes not turn the ball over either. You know, I think he'll continue to play better. And these last 9 games of the season, you'll see Mahomes, I think, play really well, just based off of now that acquisition.
Their offensive line is not very good in pass protection. It's amazing. It's amazing just like what he can do and what they can do with the running game and the play calling to just kind of like overcome it anyway. Obviously, Spags in the defense helps it too, because you see sometimes they have these 3 and outs and then their defense is just getting stops. That brings me to our power rankings. Bennie, my top 5 right now: Kansas City Chiefs number 1, Detroit Lions number 2, Baltimore Ravens number 3, Buffalo Bills number 4, and Washington Commanders number 5. What do you think of that list? What's your top 5? Who am I missing?
I would say the Detroit Lions are the best in football right now. I think they're the best team in football. I would say Kansas City. Then I would say Baltimore. Then I would say Washington. Who was your 5?
I had Buffalo at 4, Washington 5.
I'd put Buffalo at 5. Although I do think the Lions are the best team in football, I would not pick them against Kansas City or Baltimore if they were playing in a game against them. I would not pick them to beat them. But I do think they're overall the best team in football. I think they're playing the most in the best complementary football. But if I had to pick them, I would not pick them in a game versus Kansas City or Baltimore.
Interesting. 2 other small ones. Baron Browning from Denver got traded to the Arizona Cardinals, kind of a pass rusher who has flexibility to play inside. What kind of player is he, Bennie? You know your Broncos as well as anybody.
High motor, loved in the city of Denver, loved on that team, and a guy who's made some plays for a few years now. So I'm surprised to see Denver being a seller, but I think the Cardinals think that they have a legit shot in terms of making the playoffs. So they made a move for, some much needed pass rush.
No doubt. And last but not least, a shout out to Sterling Shepard, 3 catches for 35 yards on the final drive of the 4th quarter on Monday Night Football to send Bucks Chiefs to overtime. Kansas City ends up winning, but I don't know about you, but I was happy to see him succeed after kind of how it ended here in New York. I mean, he was cooking guys in practice here in New York to the end, even though they didn't have him on the active roster and on game day. So I know he's had some injuries, but it's nice to see him cooking some guys on the field in games that matter again.
Yeah, shout out to young Shep. I talked to him a couple days, maybe before training camp or during training camp, and he was telling me that he was done and that, that he was going to retire. And then he gets a call from the Bucks, and then now he's out there thriving and he's playing with that same energy, that same passion. So shout out to young Shep, and still has the ability to create massive amounts of separation. I mean, we saw it last night, corner routes, out routes, his rapport with Baker Mayfield was great. So shout out to young Shep, and I think he'll be playing a couple more years based off of what he just put on tape.
I can hear him making that sound when he plants his foot in J direction. He makes that. He kind of makes that sound and kind of laughs at you as he's running by you. You know, like that's. I can hear it right now. Benny, this has been a fantastic episode and conversation again here. First Down with Bennie Fowler, Super Bowl champion, former NFL wide receiver, joins us to break down the action every week here on Talking Ball with Pat Leonard. Beans, thanks for the time as always, man.
Appreciate you, Pat.
That was another fantastic edition of First Down with Bennie Fowler here on the Talking Ball with Pat Leonard podcast on the Believe Network. Thank you to MyBookie for sponsoring Talking Ball with Pat Leonard. MyBookie is rolling out the red carpet for sports bettors this season. Make this season a winning season with MyBookie. We hit in week 9 on the Daniel Jones anytime touchdown and the Washington Commanders covering against the Giants in MetLife Stadium. We'll continue making you money on MyBookie, but you need to click on the link in my social media profile and use the promo code PATSPICKS, and you will get a special deal. You'll get a 100% match on your first deposit of $50 or more, all the way up to $1,000, plus a $10 casino chip. Let's win with MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Also brought to you here by Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink, a natural extract loaded with anti-inflammatory, immune-boosting antioxidants, and heart-healthy compounds. You can easily pour this natural liquid supplement into any of your favorite drinks. I put mine in my coffee every morning and immediately feel the difference. I personally have felt a post-workout-like energy boost with Boom. Chaga also has the ability to lower cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and improve immune and heart health with its beta-glucans and antioxidants. You know this if you listen to our Talking Ball with Pat Leonard episode with Boom Chaga co-founder Rich Funk. If you didn't see that or listen to that, check it out now on the YouTube channel PL on NFL or on the Believe Network on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Go to boomchaga.com today to place your first order. And if you use the discount code TalkingBall25 or access it through the QR code on your screen, you'll get 25% off your first subscribe and save order. Right now, that means a month's supply costs you only $30. Start feeling the difference today at boomchaga.com. And brought to you here on Talking Ball with Pat Leonard by Estate 98 Coffee, a specialty coffee concentrate, perfect for when you want to make a quick cup of coffee and skip the lines. Takes me less than 10 seconds to make a delicious Estate 98 iced or hot coffee. It's great as a mixer for espresso martinis, and each bottle can make up to 16 cups. Go to estate98.com/talkingball to get an exclusive offer for 80% off your first order.